What if our entire definition of genius has been wrong all along? Today, we're going to dive into a really powerful idea, one that suggests we might be overlooking one of humanity's greatest resources, just because it doesn't talk in a way we expect it to. And this quote, wow, it just perfectly sets the stage for everything we're talking about. It poses the question so well. Instead of seeing a mind that works differently as a broken toy, what if we saw it as the raw material for a crown? I mean, that's a fundamental shift in how you see the world. And that shift, it leads us right here. For generations, really, when we run into a mind that's different, especially one that's nonverbal, we immediately focus on what it can't do. But what if that's the biggest mistake we could possibly make? Which brings us to our first section, because the way we currently do things isn't just a little misunderstanding, it's a monumental waste of an incredible, incredible resource. Here's the core of the problem, right? Society gets fixated on the broken output, in this case, the fact that someone can't speak. But we're so busy staring at that, we completely miss the supercharged engine that's roaring away on the inside, a mind that might be processing the world in a way we can't even imagine. So the real key then is to completely redefine what we're looking at. We've got to start seeing the inner life of a savant not as some kind of condition or a sickness, but as exactly what it is. A resource. Think of it like a treasure chest, just packed with solutions to problems that the rest of us, with our busy, noisy brains, are just too distracted to solve. Okay, so if it's a treasure chest, what's actually inside? Well, get ready for this, because we're talking about some truly incredible mental superpowers. So first, let's just set a baseline with our brains. Most of us in our normal busy lives are operating on what are called beta brainwaves. This is kind of our stress frequency. It's for thinking step by step in a line. Just keep that in mind, because we're going to contrast it with something completely different. The silent mind, on the other hand, gets to tap into three fundamental superpowers that our busy beta wave state usually just drowns out. So let's break down exactly what these are. First up, perfect pattern recognition. Okay, imagine this. You and I look at a forest, and we see a bunch of trees, a jumble of leaves. This kind of mind sees the underlying mathematical code, the actual precise repeating patterns that make the entire forest work. Second is total predictive memory. And no, this is not just about being good at remembering things. We're talking about the ability to run a complete high-speed simulation of a complex problem inside your own head, to predict what's going to happen, or find the one single right answer almost instantly. It's amazing. And the third superpower is holistic vision. So instead of thinking in slow, one after the other words like most of us do, this mind thinks in geometry, in relationships. It can literally see an entire complex problem all at once, like it's a 3D structure it can just turn around and look at from every single angle. Okay, so we have these absolutely incredible superpowers. The obvious next question is, how do we actually use them? Well, this next part is all about making a huge shift from trying to fix a deficiency to actually designing roles that are built for these strengths. And this comparison just makes the problem so clear. We keep trying to force these minds into what we can call beta wave jobs. Jobs built on socializing, endless meetings, verbal communication, the very things they are not wired for. The secret is to create theta wave jobs, roles that require that deep, focused thinking that need pattern analysis and that let this holistic genius just shine. And these aren't just abstract ideas. Imagine a programmer who doesn't read code line by line but sees the entire program as a giant, colored map of logic, and they can spot a bug because it's a color that's out of place. Or what about an architect who can run a full, high-res simulation of a brand new city inside their mind, catching flaws that would take a whole team of engineers months to find? So, the potential is there. It's obviously massive, but how do we get to it? How do we access it? Well, we have to build a bridge from their silent inner world to our external one. And the answer is something called neuroaffirming design. It's such a simple but profound idea. Instead of trying to change the person's brain, we build systems that respect and support their wiring. We build our end of the bridge to meet them where they are. This really comes down to three key things. First, quiet workspaces so they can actually get into that deep state of concentration. Second, using visual ways to communicate. Imagine hiring someone based on a pattern matching test instead of a chatty interview. And third, we need policies and tools that create stability, because that's the environment where this kind of cognitive function is at its absolute peak. When you pull all the way back, this entire approach is about recognizing a fundamental truth. Our greatest strength as a species isn't that everyone thinks the same. It's the incredible, astounding diversity of how human minds can work. Now, to make this all a little less theoretical and a little more real, we've actually got a direct challenge for you to try, a way for you to get a small taste of this different way of thinking. It's called the data map. And the goal is simple: to try and process some information using your pattern recognition skills, and just for a minute, bypass that part of your brain that defaults to reading things word by word. So here's how you do it. First, find a complex paragraph from a book or an article. Second, read it. But instead of just focusing on the words, try to feel the relationships between the ideas. The flow and the logic. And third, draw it. No sentences. Use symbols, arrows, shapes, and colors to map out how all those ideas connect to each other. That drawing you create at the end, that is a much closer approximation of how this different way of thinking works. It sees information not as a slow sequence of words to get through, but as a single, holistic map of ideas that it can access instantly. Which leaves us all with one final, really powerful question to think about. If we start looking at these silent minds, not as broken toys, but as crowns waiting to be forged, what incredible answers to our world's biggest problems are we going to find just hiding in the silence?